Thanks for joining the channel. Today I'm going to go over my cooking system. A few people have asked me along the way, how did I carry everything I needed to cook my meals on the bike? So I'm going to go through that system right now. So what I start off with, have this titanium pot that was an Amazon buy. It's Lixta. I'll try to include the price in the comments. It's 750 milliliters, and it cooks, it's 3 cups of water, and I try to just boil water in it, but I do eat some meals out of it, ramen, things like that. I'll use it for that, or for oatmeal in the morning. I'll use it for that. And then next I have my stove. And what I have for the stove is I have a little BRS stove that I got a number of years ago here at MEC in Canada, which is similar to REI in the US. And I think it's 28 grams, if I remember right. Nice compact stove. For that kind of weight, why not carry a stove with you? I like having hot food in the morning, especially a hot cup of coffee. And that stove just threads onto your fuel canister like so. I'm not going to thread it all the way down and light it inside, but the fuel canister actually becomes the base. So that's how I boil water, is on this little device. So that's the camping stove. Also, along the way, I picked up a cup because I was drinking my coffee out of this, but I'd have to eat my food and then drink my coffee. Or if I wanted coffee first, I'd have to boil the water, drink my coffee, then cook my food. And if I want another coffee, I had to boil it again. I clean it and boil it again. It seemed like a bit of a hassle. So along the way, I can't remember. I think I got this drawing a blank here. I think I got this in Helena, I believe. And this just, with the way it is, it makes a little bit of noise rattling, but I used a carabiner and hooked it to the back of my saddlebag, and it just hung on the back of the bag and rattled the way there on the road, which is not too bad to have something rattling in bear country. For eating, I had a spoon, and then just before I left, I bought a spork. I'd always just used a spoon because I generally was just cooking breakfast type of stuff for the overnighters I was doing here in Ontario. But then I bought a spork so that I could, eat things like ramen a little easier. Word of caution, if you have an anodized spork, do not put it in the dishwasher. Didn't stand up to that very well. I don't know why I did that, but that was a mistake. But I got this dismount here in Toronto just before I left. I'm glad I had it because I used it every day. If I needed to cut something, I had have an old Swiss Army knife. It's like 30 years old. I've had this for a long time, but I tended to not have to cut anything. So that didn't get much use. It was just a backup. To start my stove, I carry a little mini lighter as well as some matches. And I also have I don't have it with me here, a carabiner that has it's called a fire beaner. It's got a little flint on it that I'll try to show on one of my future videos. And that was handy for sparking as well. So I had 3 ways of starting a fire before I had to start rubbing sticks together. In order to clean everything up, I have just a little piece of a sponge with a scouring pad on the back of it that I kind of cut down to size. It'll fit in my kit. And then I also have a little micro towel that I got from Mount Copa Co-op here, or corporation here in Canada. Again, similar to REI. And that was for, drying things. And again, dry things well, otherwise you'll get rust building up in the bottom of your stove or your cook pot. And then finally, I have an elastic band to hold it all together. I know some people cold soak their meals. They don't want to carry a stove with them, but for the minimal weight of this, and I like having a hot meal, especially to start my day, and a hot cup of coffee. I gladly take the weight penalty to have that luxury, if you want to call it that. I think it's a necessity for me, but it's a really great thing to have with me. So anyways, let's talk about how it all goes back together. So I'm gonna put it back together, or reassemble it to go back in my bag as if I was packing up to go. So the stove just folds down like so, goes back in its handy little bag that it came in. And then what I do is I take the pot, the canister, and the cap go on it. It goes into the pot. Stove goes into the pot. Matches, lighter, and my little sponge go into the pot, and then I close it up. And in order to, it will pop open. It doesn't have a way of securing it in transport, so I just have a good old-fashioned elastic band to keep everything in nice and tight so it doesn't go flying away. And there's one other piece of gear I had, which is I think it's worth mentioning. I did have a little bowl that I've always taken with me camping here, especially when I did my overnighters here in Ontario. But the day before the Grand Depart and the Tour Divide, I was coming back on the Heritage Trail. I was staying in Canmore. I was coming back on the Heritage Trail, and I stopped to get rid of some garbage at a recycling repository, and there was a woman there, and I said hello, and she was with her dog, and she was a little somewhat distraught. I asked what's going on, and it turned out that her dog had on the Heritage Trail, in order to prevent wildlife from going on the highway, they have these electric plates, and there's a gate to go through. So pedestrians or cyclists go around the rubber gate and through a gate that they can open. The idea is that animals will not go through because they hit this electric pad and they get a shock and they back up. Well, the woman was riding a bicycle, and as she went around it, her dog kind of just darted right across that electric pad and unfortunately burnt the pads of the dog. So she was trying to take care of the dog the best she could, but she had no first aid or anything with her. So first thing I did was I grabbed the bowl and I poured some water in it and gave the dog some water because it was an incredibly hot day. Gave the dog some water, and then I started going through my first aid kit. And it's interesting that I'm glad I took a first aid kit, and most often they say when you take a first aid kit, you're probably not going to use it on yourself, you're going to use it on somebody else. In my case, I used it on a dog. So we cleaned up the dog's paws as best I could with this little first aid kit that I had. And the dog seemed to settle down a little bit after having some water and having something on its pads to protect it. And then I was kind of pressed for daylight. I need to keep going. So I left the bowl with her and to give the dog some water and keep it comfortable. So I would gladly sacrifice that bowl, and it ended up I didn't need it. It was just one more piece of gear, and I managed to get by just fine using my pot and pan and my cup. So anyways, that's my food system. I hope you liked what I had to go over. Hope if that works for you, great. If you have suggestions or anything you want to comment on, and please leave a comment below. And if you liked what you heard, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next with, I'm going to go over my sleep system in the next video. So thanks for watching.